All right, after a brief interlude, we seem to be ready. Everyone ready? Here it comes. Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. It doesn't matter what kind of Lemachamp or Lucky Track Dog League you run, SCCA or NASA, we won't discriminate, as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussion, tips, tricks, news and notes in the world of amateur endurance racing, and whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, or we're lucky enough, and Chrissy gives us just the tip, we're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Mental.
And we are Everyone Racers. Thanks for listening to a W113 episode of our podcast. Of course, Mercedes has made 10 different models with 230 in the title, but the W113, also known as the Pagoda SL, is the definitive two-seat roadster from their formative years, I think, and from the 8-time Formula One Constructors World Champion, built from 63 to 71. The 6-cylinder sports coupe was described by Jeremy Clarkson as one of the cars from the 60s that has stood the test of time, being, quote, from a time when Mercedes was still building its cars properly. And if you're not driving what was then GQ Magazine's 10 cars that made Mercedes-Benz, or any other lesser mark, go check out that bingo card.
Now, it was the Pagoda because it had a bigger greenhouse, right?
Well, the roof wasn't flat. The roof kind of like amped up in the corners just slightly on the hardtop versions. And that made it look a little different.
Got it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Got it.
Obscure Mercedes history. Yay.
Cool.
Yeah.
We're in the 200s. We're going to be here for a while.
Yeah. That's fine. Like when the 150s were, it was all alpha all the time.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, had a lot of Jordan, early 100s with a lot of the Jordan Formula One cars.
True. Yep. All right. Well, what are y'all working on? How about Mental?
Oh, crap.
Sorry.
So
I mean, you always come up with it on the fly anyway, so what does it matter?
This is the last week of my split shifts, at least for 2 weeks, and then I'll start it again in March. I am down to one room that needs a ceiling. So
that's great.
Been hanging a lot of sheetrock. In fact, Vicky is off getting a rolling scaffolding now. Excuse me, so that she can start doing the mudding and taping because her sister and our nieces and nephews are coming in April. Saturday, Sunday.
That's not what we meant when we said get a Mexican to do the mud.
Oh, you are so dead. When
you're only mad because you didn't think of it.
He's totally gonna tell that to her later, right?
Oh, totally. On
my ass kicked now.
Oh, pretty much like she's texting Jen right away.
Oh.
It was still funny. On Sunday, went to the local, another one of those local car shows. This one's hosted by a car dealer, so basically boomers and vets show. Not terrible, had a good time. But Vicky came up to get out of the house and get a little exercise, and she was walking around and noticed that used cars are, shocker, stupid right now. So out of curiosity, she got online, and tomorrow morning we will be selling her Tiguan to CarMax for $500 less than we paid for it 3 years ago. And she's going to just wait until the market settles and lease something, probably electric. But in the meantime, beater shopping time. Woo! She's probably going to drive the 6.3 when she needs to go someplace. But we've looked at a couple of Mercedes and other SUVs and wagons. So, and all of them are going to be cash priced.
Because your 928's not ready, huh?
I did get the fuel pump. The fuel pump now works.
You're an ass today.
A little bit. Yeah.
You're a Sass Master 3000.
Or what would it cost to have a shop put a head gasket in the Volvo? You can drive the Volvo. She can drive the Merc.
She is, before all this happened, she had deemed the Volvo was going away. So the Volvo is on the block. I got the Toyota all packaged together, took a bunch of pictures of it, went to go find the title to put it on Facebook Marketplace and couldn't find the title. So I filed for a lost title to get that ready to go. So as soon as that comes up, shifting some stuff around, drove down to Phoenix to get the car for the Chris Vention that you guys aren't going to make it to. And this weekend I'm headed to Big Willow for NASA Enduro.
Cool.
Fun.
Chrissy.
Yeah, we're just jumping all over here, aren't we? Well, we were on vacation. Now we were not on last week's show. Sorry about that. But fortunately, we made it back into the country with no problem, which was awesome. We over the weekend, I did not do any car work. I did some serious deep house cleaned some appliances that, well, it didn't start. I had some ambitions on some other things, but then we had a small, almost oven fire. So we started with the cleaning of the oven.
Who was responsible for said oven fire?
A dirty oven, obviously.
I think it's solid both.
I think it's a
Really?
solid both. Okay, so
Yeah.
the story is we were
dirty oven at their house. I don't think so.
No, Nick, you're right. That we were doctoring up a gluten-free pizza, which is what we do around this place. We buy them and just put all kinds of toppings on it. So I decided a chicken bacon ranch pizza would be a lovely idea, right?
That's great.
Sounds great. Well, we figured when you put the ranch on the pizza and then cook it, all the grease ran right off the pizza stone.
The ranch melted essentially, and yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, it needs a little bit longer. And all of a sudden I was like, that's we didn't have the actual fire,
Yeah.
but we definitely had
Because
pretty
it's
close to it.
I believe most ranch is oil based.
Sure. Yes.
We
Right.
sure
we
found that out.
we should have, we were like, what? This never happens. And we could have put a pan under it if we'd realized it was going to happen. Anyway, long story short.
Next time, ranch goes on right when it comes out.
There you
not
go.
before.
Yeah, right. Now we know, okay, when you make it at home, that's what you're supposed to do. But I also washed my washer, which I very much encourage you, which was going to be my just the tip, but it will now be in here because I have better just the tip. My washer was very gross. I have a front loader and I washed it before, but not in a long time. But if you go in there, you should look in there because it's probably pretty disgusting. And then I also scrubbed my shower. So I know they're not very interesting things, but they're things that needed to be done. And it took the weekend to make it all happen.
Chrissy's occasional alter ego, Susie Homemaker, came out for the weekend.
I walked out of the garage and said,
I'm gonna go. That's a little beyond Susie Homemaker. That's like, Susie prep kitchen for surgery.
all of these things need to be done. Everybody has a shower, everybody has a washer, and chances are it also helps that there's only he and I in the house and we don't have a house cleaner. So things don't get done if one of us doesn't do it. So that's what I was
What's the
doing.
time I offered and you said no?
Then you say, why don't you wire the Civic instead? That's
I
his
had
answer.
30 plus years of doing my own laundry until I got married. I didn't do it 30 years, 20-ish years of doing my own laundry. And then I got married and was told, you don't know how to do this, never do it again. Problem solved.
That's like we are with the dishwasher.
I'm the
Just gotta
dishwasher guy.
Get that oatmeal article how to
That's
load
right.
the dishwasher.
Yes.
Oh well.
Anyway, so that's what I did. Chris was in the garage, and it was also Chris's birthday. So we had a small dinner, but just us because we were quarantining. No problems though, so it's all good. Jeff, what are you doing?
I worked on Saturday doing basketball things because it's college and it's almost March Madness.
I was gonna say, I was like, that's not for your son, right?
No.
I was like, this is new.
My student senate was hosting an after party after the Stockton/William Patterson basketball game. Which, for those of you who don't know, I worked at William Patterson University before.
Did you see people that you knew?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
It's been 7 years.
I know,
but I worked there for almost 15 years, so I kept cheering for the wrong team. I'd be like, yeah, oh, gee, I don't work there anymore. Blue and white is my team. Blue and white is my team. So my student senate had an after party, so I was there for the game and that thing. But that's not important. I did a bunch of computer things on Sunday because I'm teaching a class in the fall, and I needed the syllabus done like ASAP. I am not a normal teacher. I'm an administrator, so everybody needs to review my syllabus. So I was being extra careful.
What class are you teaching?
I am teaching a leadership policy and change class, which is part of a leadership program that I wrote and got funded with a grant. And it is sadly like the grant is not enough money to do everything we wanted. So we're in the, okay, how do we downsize and get what we want, but not, it's an interesting life as an academic. So I did mess with a bunch of graphics because I did a bunch of other computer stuff. So
Thank you.
there's some new potential swag going to be in the 3-pedal Mafia paddock in the spring. Look for it.
Cool.
Oh, that's right. You guys are still waiting on spring. Yeah.
Although today was pretty
Well,
close.
it's kind of like this weekend though.
Yeah.
50
Oh, yeah.
degrees is today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, not
Yeah.
here.
No, I get it. Yeah, it was 80.
Totally.
Winter. We're done. We've had enough of winter.
No. Chris, what are you working on?
I've actually been working on race cars, mostly just the
Well,
Civic.
one of us has to.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So progress on the Civic. Let's see. I've got the oiling system done, including rubber vibration resistant mounts on the oil cooler, and all the AN lines run, and the remote filter mounted, and everything mounted and P-clipped, and etc. Cooling system all done. Radiators in place. Hoses in place. Overflow bottle. Figured that out. A mounting solution. Got that all done. All set. Let's see, exhaust done, made from scratch, fits very nicely. Get a
Looked very
3
Saw
inch
that.
exhaust.
Did that go on the social media or just on? Because I saw
Like
a
Slack.
picture of it.
Slack.
Oh, okay. And it's like, oh man, it looked awesome.
Look very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
The first
fits.
time.
Not so much. Yeah. When I had it all set, and I said, all right, I'm gonna cut it. I pulled it out. I said, oh, I should cut it around here if I put the V-band clamp in, because you can't make it one piece and you can't take it out without taking the suspension apart. So I said, oh, that should be good. I went to put it back in. Nope. V-band clamp was hitting stuff as it just needed to be like 2 inches lower. So a couple cuts, a couple welds, all back together. But the muffler tucks up nicely right under the floor, like, so it won't get in the way of a splitter having it later under there. And yeah, but a 3-inch exhaust doesn't fit real well in some spots in a car that originally had a inch and a quarter pea
3/4,
shooter
right?
for a
7.5.
70 horsepower 1.5 liter this thing used to have. So anyway, all that's done. Did some additional sorting on the suspension. Turns out I had some of the wrong toe links, so I got those, the correct ones, in with the right bushings, and all that stuff is in and in place. I got the toe straightened out a little bit because it was super towed in from the EK front suspension. Had a little different thing there, but anyway, done that. Finished up the heat shields that Mental started to make. Got those looking beautiful and working very nicely now.
I have to ask now, you said finish those. Does that mean threw away what I did and
No,
built something
no,
new? Okay.
the-
All right.
I changed some of the bending on the bigger one, and I did some trimming and additional bending on the smaller one, and then put some of the other heat shield material on it, and then obviously bolted everything in place so it doesn't touch anything, and it's nice air gap and nice reflectivity. It looks great. That car is no fuel heating from us, which is all we're trying to do there.
Good, because that's worked out so well for Bruce.
Yeah, totally. What
Well,
else?
and it matters because this is a stock fuel system, which if you go back and listen to our don't do a fuel cell, we're
Yep.
taking our own advice for once.
For now,
For a
For
little bit.
now.
yeah,
Yeah.
until it becomes a problem.
Until we lose because we
Mhm.
didn't. Yeah.
Also test fitted the big ass wheels and tires. They fit a little better than the other car, but we're gonna have to get the fender roller out. Although, and I did
big
find
deal.
I did find on Craigslist someone in our same town. I have to email him, selling white fiberglass Civic wide body fenders
Oh,
for
Why?
$100 for the pair.
Front and rear.
Just the front to clear the big ass tires we have in the front.
yeah.
Um,
We like moved the fenders, the steel fenders, out on the old Honda.
a long way.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
For
And we
venting
haven't done it
reasons.
here. And it'll if I roll it, it'll just cover the tread, but the wheels definitely stick out beyond everything else. And yeah, whatever. We'll figure it out. I did measure ground clearance though. At our current height, we have 3 inches to the oil pan, which is the lowest hanging thing on the car. So it's not
Okay.
that much. It's close.
So it's gonna suck putting your arm. You can't put your arm under it to get to like put it on the jack.
Oh, that's in the side. The side's okay.
Oh,
Just the
okay,
oil
just
pan
the
is the
front.
thing that hangs low. So that means don't hit those curves, guys. Like seriously, don't put too off and straddle the curb, because the
Yeah.
oil pan is going to hit and that takes the motor out. So don't.
Are
do
you
that.
going to be able to put a flat splitter, or are you going to have to cut around it?
Wolf TBD. but I have the motor mounted as high of all the different height options on the mounts. It is on the highest set of options, and it still clears the hood barely, which is good. Now I'm into wiring, and there's plenty,
Woo!
which means now I'm taking the dash off, because when they did the K swap before, they put the K stuff wiring in it, but then they left all the stock stuff and just zip tied it up under the kind of part of the dash. There's just so much unnecessary wires in there. I can't.
Well, and I understand your pain on that one, but I feel like just leaving the stock stuff zip tied will save you some work in not having to go CSI on what the heck did they cut here.
They didn't
There's
cut
some
it.
of
They just
that.
wrapped it up, and I can, if I just take it all out, I can just take large swaths of wires out and depin, because if it ran with what's there, fine, then I don't need all that other stuff. I'm also undoing the wire tuck kit job that they did, running wires inside the fenders to put them back in the engine bay.
Car show, but what did
Yeah, I
car
know.
show?
Exactly.
But accident and then smush.
As soon as a fender gets crunched and it squishes all those wires. That's
Good,
great.
good call.
Yeah.
Remember the Z was like half tucked from the factory.
Yeah,
'Cause there
until
was
I
no-
untucked it.
Yeah.
And we said this is a
there was
terrible.
just
Because I
no
said, if we ever
room.
get hit in that right front fender, like all that stuff
everything's
is going to be a
gone.
problem.
Yeah.
How'd that work out?
Yep, didn't matter.
Well, no, the motor still ran.
Yeah, exactly.
News and notes time.
You don't do it nearly as good as I do. In
You
an
really
email
don't,
to
and he insists on doing it every
know.
time.
I was ready.
'Cause
In
I'm
an-
trying to get the show to move off.
Oh,
quicker.
wow. In an email today, Lemons has announced the second of their series of Johnny Lightning diecast cars. Southern racers might know the Thin Blue Swine and their 1986 Ford Thunderbird. A few years ago, their trailer was stolen. Is that correct? Okay. A week before Barber, and they were forced to drive the car to and from the track in freezing temperatures. Quoting Lemons, unlike the real thing, this 1/64th version is lightweight, affordable, affordable to own, and easily hidden from your family and friends. Like everything, they are suffering from supply chain challenges. So expect the first two Lemon cars this summer. This summer and fall of 2020, respectively. Again, quoting their announcement, let's be fair, it ain't like real lemons and are ever ready on time anyway.
I feel like we should share this because it does look fantastic.
It really does.
Give me a moment here.
The whole Johnny Lightning, because he's a lemons racer, they're really catching these down.
Yeah. I think they did a good job on all of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to pick them up when I see them.
Totes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
That's-
they've got the blue option too. If you
Yeah.
the other
keep
color.
scrolling down, sure.
Yeah. On the
I
lemons.
wouldn't buy it in the other color. I'm only going to buy it in the real color.
Fair.
Yeah.
The
Okay, cool.
Now, over at Jalopnik, Andy Kalmowitz has a rather snarky take on the new Jeremy Renner project on Disney Plus. Now it's called Renovations. I'll give
I'm
you
not
that's
watching
a pretty bad name,
Yeah.
but it is a 4-part unscripted show that will highlight the Avengers star quote lifelong passion for giving back to communities around the world by reimagining unique purpose-built vehicles to meet a community's needs, end quote. Now, details about the show are light at the moment, but expect Renovations to be about building some sort of one-off style vehicle, performing a specific special purpose, something like when the old Jesse James show was on there. That wasn't too terrible. Renner is a known gearhead, and in 2011 he bought the rights to the Bill Caswell story. Bill Caswell, of course,
no idea.
the guy who
Neither.
ran the WRC rally in a BMW E30 he built in his mom's garage. So now Andy may not like the idea of the show. Name aside, I actually do. I like Jeremy Renner. I like cars. I'm probably going to watch it.
4-part series, you're like, by then you can
Yeah.
either quit halfway through or just suffer through.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Exactly.
I don't have high hopes, but I'll watch it.
You also watch Little Bears, so
I
there's
watch
that.
everything.
And it with
Ads
any,
on TikTok and
with anything car related, I always come back to the belief that what do we need? More storage unit bidding shows?
Nope.
No, more car shows. I don't care. And especially if they're hosted by car people.
Nice. Unless it's Goldberg. I definitely didn't like his show. So Goldberg gets a shot out of nowhere. Last year, we told you how Toyota and Stanford University were partnering to build an autonomous vehicle program capable of drifting. Yes, drifto robots. Well, last week, they made it work. A video shows a tester, Supra, going all sideways, yo. But does the robot put his pinky out? That's what we want to know. It was at Thunderhill, so it went around a series of barriers. Haggerty reports that the trick is Toyota Research Institute's algorithm that is reimagining vehicular stability systems. While certainly cool, the goal is to actually safety in mind by reimagining the vehicle's stability system that corrects when you pull, instead of like pulling back the power or adding brake, it corrects the stability system when it slides. So it's a different way to do stability systems. So TRI, that's Toyota Research Institute's senior manager of human-centric driving research. His name is, I might butcher this, Avinash Belachandran. He was quoted in the Haggerty article saying, through this project, we are expanding the region in which a car is controllable, with the goal of giving regular drivers the instinctual reflexes of a professional race car driver to be able to handle the most challenging emergencies and keep people safer on the road. And I just want to know if everybody thinks that the cop will buy this when he pulls me over, that I'm just testing a new safety system while I'm hooning around this weekend.
It's a great idea.
Well, yeah. Or if you were going to blame your Tesla for rolling through the stop sign, you could blame your Toyota for drifting around. But if you have not seen the video, which is linked in our show notes, I'm going to shamelessly share it now. Hopefully it'll work. It is genuinely impressive to see that this is being done by a computer. The driver has no inputs as this thing is sliding around. And yeah, it is.
Videos don't work.
Yeah.
Okay. Never
Screen
mind.
sharing video, not so hot.
It'll be in the
Not so
notes.
hot. It'll be the link to the video is in the notes.
Yeah, I checked it out. It is rather impressive.
Rather than, stealing power for vehicle stability, this thing actually goes, what would Ken Block do right now?
Can someone just ask him?
Basically adjusting the steering input instead of adjusting the braking or the power.
Well, it's taking control of power and guiding it around it, kind of a deal. Yeah.
Awesome. What's
Excellent.
next?
Sponsor section.
Well,
I don't yell. Some weeks back,
we don't usually announce it.
We don't. We had our fantasy shopping episode. Now, this car wasn't listed then, but I'm pretty sure at least several of us would have picked this one as our track car. It's an LS swapped Porsche 968 from the Racing Junk Classifieds. There's 19 pictures. Seller has 400 more. Essentially, it's a 94 968 with a LS1 swap, the stock 6-speed manual transmission, which is quite beefy in those. Bilstein Escort Cup and Elephant Racing suspension, upgraded brakes, dry sump, vinyl wrap, race seats, roll cage, harnesses. I mean, this thing is well done. 27 grand. It's like, yeah, that's fair. I'd do that.
And the paint job is done.
It's a vinyl wrap.
Oh, got
wrap. It looks like riveted aluminum.
It does.
Over the front, which is good because the panel gaps aren't great on the whole car. But
but it looks like if it's riveted, then you're like, well, the panel gap, it's fine because it's riveted.
Big dive plate.
Big splitter.
Look at that.
Big wing in the back.
It's
That's
huge.
a wang and a half there.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
You could hang a lot of clothes on that.
Whoa. Is that a Laguna pipe?
That's
I believe that is, because it's in California. That's totally a Laguna pipe.
Yeah.
And would you want to explain that to people that don't know what that is?
So for those who are racing at Laguna Seca, they have a very harsh sound limit. So everyone that races there has a separate exhaust they put on top of their normal exhaust that faces the exhaust toward the driver's side, probably through an extra muffler to try to stay below the noise rags of Laguna Seca.
It usually up about 2 feet and over because the sensor's on the ground.
Yeah, there's a little panel gap issue here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the panel gaps weren't great in this car to start with.
What do you want for 29 or whatever it is?
That looks nice.
There's a lot of work in that car.
Yeah, that's a Corvette killer out of the box.
Upcoming races. is. WRL is at NOLA. All right, get this. 54 cars. It's pretty small. 23 of them are BMWs.
That's a lot of
boring.
My goodness, this field, 1 Miata, 1 Honda, 10 Porsches, and nothing exciting. I'm scratching it. An 01 MX-5, a 07 350Z, and an 01 LXIS. They're the most interesting things I could come up
Kind
with.
of boring.
Yeah, so boring.
Yeah.
So boring.
54 cars. That's a pretty good field for NOLA for WRL.
Mm-hmm.
So good for them.
And that's sold out. I believe they probably.
Oh,
could've-
is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that race sold out.
Well, I'm still sad that half of them are the same kind of car.
The boring BMWs. Great racers. Get some more interesting cars, man.
Well, WRL isn't really shooting for that market. They're shooting for a more racy market.
I know,
They
but
are
when we
very
try to leave
serious.
for the oh, this is interesting, I was like, I got nothing.
Yeah, no
There's
interest.
Nothing. Mm-mm.
Stop driving BMWs, people. That's the problem.
I'd love to see 23 Porsches,
Sure.
Mercedes. Where's the AMGs, folks?
There's none.
All right. Lucky Dog running the Revenge of the Underdogs. That's the 5th annual Ron Cortez Memorial at Sonoma this weekend. There are 79 cars. 27 of them are BMWs.
Reasonable
Still
ratio.
Boring.
Yeah.
Reasonable,
I
but
think
still
it's
boring.
fine.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. 22 Miatas,
That's
4
crazy.
Hondas,
Yeah.
4 Porsches, and an 89, 95, and 65 Mustang. Let the horses run. A 2000 Jetta and 2, count them, 300 ZXs.
Interesting.
Yep.
Probably Z31s. So,
Yep. I don't know.
because they'd be just Z's. 300Z. But anyway, recent results. Who's got some?
Of course, we were just talking about this. Lemons was at Barber. Now you're overall at Class A, and we were actually watching this
No, we
because
were.
our buddy Big Sexy Darren was there with his Squirt and Corona. So Twisted Sister Racing, it's an Acura RSX. They were first overall. Our buddies, the Squirt and Coronas, and that really nice supercharged CLK that they've been teething and figuring out for years now, was third, but for a while we're leading, and we were all watching on Race Monitor. Class B was the Psycho Billy crap can, that E36 that has bounced around like 4 different owners now.
Yeah, why
Yeah.
is it getting Class B, though?
It's a
Probably 'cause it's-
318
yeah.
with a Plymouth on top of it.
Oh, yeah,
Pretty
I guess.
much.
And I don't think
it's
it was
been around
that-
forever.
It was in the
Yeah, it was
top
never-
10, but it was never, I don't think it was,
I didn't
it
think
wasn't
was
run away with
18.
anything.
I thought it was a 25.
Yeah.
Well, originally it was a 318. Who knows what it is now?
But in Class C, Bad Penny Racing and a Ford Thunderbird. Other awards, the no class went to Team Vibe and their Dodge Monaco. Those are the guys you've seen down in New Orleans. They were at Pit Race. Great team, hilarious, fun to be around. Org choice was the Black Unbeauty, a take on the famous Bruce Lee vehicle, the Green Hornet, and their Chrysler Imperial.
Nice.
Because it was a Chrysler Imperial.
Nice.
Star Wars versus Star Trek. This is a new award. Chewbacca ate my tribble. Ragged Racing in the Borg Warg Isabella. And that one is, it's
Wonderful.
not a new car, but it's been hiding for a while.
Yeah.
They were nuts about trophies. The Dodgers in a Mitsubishi Eclipse. I can't believe a Mitsubishi Eclipse finished. I'm staggered. Of course, the new for 2022 eBay Motors, where Halloween meets gasoline trophy. That's the one where you stay in costume all weekend and it pays better than everything. And that was Los Flying Blurritos and a Chevy Camaro. If you didn't see the pictures, go to the 24hoursoflemons.com, check out their Instagram, check their Facebook. This team was hilarious.
Oh,
They-
I was busy all weekend. I'm gonna have to go. check it out.
every Mexican stereotype. It's fantastic. I got screwed, went to What the Florida Racing in a Volkswagen Golf, but it was done up very well. It was a Betty White memorial.
I did
R.I.P.
see
Betty-
this one, and I showed it to my
Yes.
wife. She thought it was fantastic.
And Heroic Fix was longtime competitors, Nearly Adequate Racing in a Ford Pinto wagon.
Nice. Champ Car was at Road Atlanta. We mentioned this. This is the Lemons Champ Flippy Floppy. No results on Race Hero.
Oh, hold on. That was just my, that
Oh.
was,
do have
sorry, that was my
results?
notes back to him. I think so.
Yeah, anything in
keep reading.
parentheses you should probably skip over.
Oh,
Sorry.
got it.
That was my note to mental.
So these are the results down here.
Yes,
Yeah.
Got it.
absolutely.
This is why.
But-
this is why
but-
we really
but
should
race-
write our own notes.
But
People.
but Race
Hero does
Hero
suck.
does suck. That's why I get everything off of my laps.
I don't have a my lap, so I leave it for him so he can pull them.
Well, after 14 hours of the Champ Car race, the first car was the NLS Racing in their 240 SX. Can you believe that? Something not only survived the drift tax, but won a Champ Car race. That's great. It was a minute and 20 seconds later or that the second car passed, which is the Leviathan Motorsports in their 91 TMR2. I assume that's a
Toyota.
Toyota, yeah. Toyota MR2. There you go. Excuse me. And third was 6 laps behind. So that means it was 2 cars, 6 laps before the rest of the field. So that's great. And it was even better because it was an E30 running bulls in their boring E30.
Stop racing Beamers, man.
If you're not going to beat an MR2 and a 240 SX.
And I believe that team is I don't know if he was driving with them this weekend, but that's a team that Bill Strong, who we've had on the show, has driven with the Leviathan Motorsports.
Yeah, very good.
Listen
it's
to
a
Murphy.
Sorry.
Check it off in your bingo card.
Who interrupted who?
Oh,
I was going
Sass
to
Master,
say-
go ahead, please.
I was going to say,
please,
if
Sass
it's a-
Master.
If it's a Toyota MR2, Bill has driven it because he has driven every MR2 on the planet. Go ahead, Chrissy.
Are you done?
I'm done. Yeah.
Oh, good. That's great. Thank you.
Listen to me,
Okay, just as I was excited to actually get the Citroen on the trailer, I was excited to tell you that it was finally gone. And my phone takes amazing pictures. And Lady A on
Did you
Insta-
finally upgrade your phone?
Yeah, I have. That's how my vacation pictures turn out so good too. Yeah, no, this is amazing in portrait mode. Everybody says portrait mode's amazing. It's totally amazing. This is on night mode. It really did a good job. So I made it look like I was like professional-ish. And many of you were happy to celebrate this monumental event. Some of you thought were funny. This was a good one. Bill F said, "Glad you were able to get the title. Thanks, Jeff." I didn't want people to actually think that you did obtain the title. So I and I know that Bill knows, but I told everybody else in the cares that it was sold without the title. Just needed to make sure.
More on that later.
Okay. Greg O said he hopes it was the owners are ready for some S&M. That's fun. Brian M thought that I didn't know what sending it to the farm meant because I said on my post it's sending it to the farm, but I really did mean it's going there. It's better than parting us parting it out so much.
And had it not gone to the farm, I think Chrissy might have just woke up like at 2:00 in the morning, driven down there and sent it to a farm by herself. And it just, she was that sick of it.
I mean, we needed it to move it along, and it's been a long time, but we'll talk more about it anyway. And lastly, Andrew S asked if it came with marital aid and 37 fuel filters, and I confirmed that it does still come with marital aid because it's still going to stay installed because it would be not safe if it was removed because it would be a jaggedy piece of plastic. Also, Mental was very nice to post that it was my birthday and then it was Chris's. So thank you everyone for the well wishes for both of our birthdays.
And happy birthday to both of you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. That's right. You were out of the country. So yes, happy birthday.
Thank
Birthday season.
you. Mhm.
Yes.
So update on Survive 25. Jeff, he was here. He was shoveling snow. He's
I
eating right.
was.
He's
Like
working
a
out.
madman.
Last week he plateaued apparently. Updates this week, Jeff?
Still plateaued 1 more pound, but it's like 3 weeks to get that pound off, so it's not helping. But in an effort to mix it up, I am the local Baptist church, which has a aquatic center, has
Ooh.
reopened their pool. So I'm very excited because swimming is my favorite form of working out. So I am rejoining and going to be able to mix up my workouts. So
Excellent.
Outstanding.
Good idea.
You know what else you can do to get some points for that, Jeff?
yeah.
Go sim racing with us.
Yeah, I missed Monday. I was a little busy.
Okay, well, next Lemons iRace event is Saturday, February 19th at Sonoma, followed by a brief banger cross at Phoenix. Check it out.
And And last week we had our E1R race. We were at VIR with the touring cars. I was there. Who won? Aaron actually won race 1. The word burglar
Yay.
himself, and then Tyler. I think next week we're gonna do one good track, and then maybe we'll get silly. Maybe we'll do two silly races. We needed a good old fashioned figure eight.
It's been a
jump.
while since we've
Yeah,
been
with or without the jump. I gotta do it with the
You
jump.
got to do it with the jump.
Okay,
it's always
okay,
better
okay,
with the jump.
Okay.
Well, maybe we could do one with the jump and one without.
There you go. Figure 8s are great no matter what.
Yeah.
The
There's
jump
nothing but
doesn't
fun.
really add to the carnage. It just makes the carnage like sometimes totally self-inflicted.
Yeah,
It depends what you're driving.
it helps the bounces too. Like you can
Yeah.
bounce off the other cars in the roof. Yeah, there's so much fun to be had. I think we'll do that this week. We've been doing too serious for too long. It's time for
Too
fun.
serious, too long.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you know who's been too serious for too long?
Sure.
I actually don't know that. Is it true? Hi,
I was gonna
Chrissy's
say,
mom.
yeah, I was gonna say, you know who's never too serious?
Oh, there you go. I like that
There you
better.
go. That's good.
Yeah, that's better.
Always the right amount of serious.
Well, hi,
Okay.
Chrissy's mom. I'm
Hi.
glad that your daughter and son-in-law are back in the United States because it is main topic time. Was that good, Chrissy?
That was better. Thank
was
you.
much better.
Your enthusiasm showed through a little bit better
Now-
Oh, I was gonna say, why are you always yelling on the podcast?
because I made you.
As Chrissy mentioned, our topic tonight is Citroen. Now, not just anyone, but the
Check it off
three-pedal
your bingo
mafia Citroen.
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 You may have heard us discussing this car since, well, literally our first episode. This is what we I don't think we've had an episode where it wasn't mentioned. So as the one member of this podcast who never drove that car, I'm here to introduce this section.
Yep.
Can we start with something really basic?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it? What do we do?
Yeah.
Give us the
That's where we're gonna start. So the
give us
Citroen
the
SM.
Citroen.
This is a French car made from when Citroen was in their glory of weirdness. Now, if you've never really understood or know anything about Citroen, they are and always have been the weirdest automaker
Oh,
ever.
that's for sure.
Like, and doing it the normal way? No, we will have more wine and come up with a better way. And they do. And like, the things like that. Look up the 2CV, everyone kind of knows.
Yeah, dos chevaux.
But the DS in the 50s, when that came out, it was so far ahead of almost anything else at the time that they kept that technology going for 30 years. Things like the entire suspension and steering braking system is all hydraulic. And that all came to the SM. The ride is spectacular. The ride height is entirely adjustable. The steering is all power. Everything is adjustable. And this technology was so good that Citroen ended up licensing it out to Rolls-Royce to be the suspension in the Silver Shadow, and to Mercedes for quite a bit of the 300 Grosser 6.3 had quite a bit of Citroen technology in it for that had hydraulic closing trunk lid, and the loudest hydraulic powered horn in the world, and this most spectacular ride in the world.
Cool.
Again,
Why?
all
These
there.
are very important things.
They were.
Mm.
So anyway, ahead of its time, and Citroen decided they had bought Maserati. They're trying to now step it up. They want to compete with the likes of the Porsche 911, the Mercedes SL, the Jensen Interceptor. These were kind of the Euro touring cars of the time, like the sporty touring cars. So they came up with this car that was designed to make sure you could have a couple going from Paris to Nice for the weekend with just enough luggage. The back seat's smaller. The ladies could sit up there.
With everybody has good.
Everyone has their own ashtray.
Thank you.
Because it's the 70s in France.
Thank you.
But they didn't do things the way
They
everyone
don't
else
have
did.
windows though. So really
You could crack them open a little
you
bit.
right there, they're like
It had
this
air
big.
conditioning.
Well,
Yeah.
okay. So when
You
you're
could
all four of
you
you are
could
smoking,
Yeah,
good.
it's the 70s in France.
Problem.
So they didn't do things a normal way too. They made this front wheel drive because why not? Not even that. It was mid-engine front wheel drive. The transmission stuck out in front of the engine. When you open the hood, the transmission is the thing that's the closest to you. The engine's way back by the firewall, and the hood is 6 feet long. It's not quite Cadillac long, but it's getting there. So, and this is a Maserati quad cam V6, originally 2.7 liters, became 3 liters, that they would use the architecture of all the way through the biturbo. They kept that going for a long time. And the engine, the 5-speed manual, and all the hydraulic stuff would also power the Maserati Merak. So this was very versatile, but the whole point was you should be able to cruise in great comfort and style and get down to the south of France. And really, if you had one of these in the 70s and this rolled up and someone else had a new, Nova, this was a spaceship, essentially. Like, it is
Still
so
is a
swanky.
spaceship.
It is so cool. It is so weird. We had to have one.
I feel like I want to share pictures like right away, and I'm looking on the drive. for
Well,
pictures
if
on
we
the
if
system.
we before we go into pictures of that one, let's go into pictures of the car itself.
And
And,
if anyone has seen the recent Top Gear episode or Grand Tour where they're driving around France in French cars, there is a 10-minute segment where Hammond and Clarkson are driving around in an SM saying, "This car is brilliant," and
it
they're
really,
not wrong.
yes. And Jeff, I believe you're the one that picked up on the fact that it was the bad guy's car in or the bad girl's car, Mila Jovovich's car in Zoolander, and in the original Longest Yard in the beginning when Burt Reynolds gets arrested, he makes a getaway in one of these, and you actually see the pneumatic suspension working, and it gives away the energy state of the car. This is probably, if not the one of the most beautiful French cars.
It is definitely a beautiful car. Yeah.
Especially when you the height adjustable suspension has 5 modes and a lever by your left thigh, and when you put it into hard park mode, the thing just slams right to the ground and looks so good with those wheel spats.
Oh, that's
over
a
the back
picture of it right there.
wheels, right?
Of it slammed.
Yeah, it looks great. And the Euro ones look much better than the US ones, because Euro ones had 6 headlights behind this big glass panel, and 2 of them would actually turn in correlation with the steering wheel. We couldn't get that, of course. But like a couple just other quick weird things the car does. The power steering, it's only 2 turns to lock. It's very quick. And you can turn it to one side at a stop and let go, and it will self-center at a stop.
That is true.
When you brake, you're not actually pushing on a master cylinder. You're opening a hydraulic valve that is pushing hydraulic fluid from the pumps to the inboard front disc brakes and then to the rears as well. And when you do it, it also lowers the rear suspension the harder you brake, so you don't have as much nosedive. There's so many weird, wonderful things.
It's
about
not
that
really
car.
like an actual pedal. It's only a little
It's
disc.
a button.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone gets it the first time. They're like, "This is the brakes." Yeah, it's a button. You'll get used to it.
Do you want to mention anything about the condition of ours while I pick up the picture there?
Well, we can talk about where it came from, and that
Sure.
hopefully you listened to the episode quite a while ago when we had Spank on. If you don't know Lemon's legend, Spank Spangler, that's a shame. He's a wonderful, wonderful person that has done some amazing cars and Lemons, and we've had the fortune of racing with him, getting to know him over the years. And he is an enabler. He apparently likes to look on Craigslist for stuff, and we had talked about
which is
ago.
hilarious because he does no social media and he's always online.
Yep.
Yes.
We had talked years ago about, wouldn't it be great to have an SM? Like, that seems like the ultimate Lemons car, because it is so bad yet so cool, and no one's ever done it, and they're so expensive now. Like, the good ones are $100,000. They weren't when we got ours, but they are now. So Spank sends us a link to this particular car. It's on Craigslist in Rhode Island. It's $900. It is brown, and it is sat for 20 years. So Chrissy and I go and see it, and this guy has this other, it's a Jag Mark 9, and he had this, and he's like, well, I had to pick one, and I'm going with the Jag because I like the wood in the inside.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So we winch it up on the trailer with a come along, pay him his $900 and go on our way, and have this terrible, terrible car that just, even on the trailer, it looks so cool. And fortunately, it wasn't very rusty at all. It was pretty straight. It was pretty complete. How bad can it be? Yeah.
Well, we had already done an IOE car before then.
Yeah, we'll start with the Wartburg
Sure.
was an IOE car.
Yeah, and then boat
Out of
and
the
then
gate, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
and then rolls. So we were already kind of aren't on the slide of.
Now that's a fun old picture of 3 p.m. history. We got the Citroen SM in the front. The 89 Civic hatched in its very first theme with us when it was a 70s station wagon. And then in the back corner, you can just barely see the Z4M.
Your Z4, yeah, I saw that.
And the tree.
No, that
Tree's
tree's still there.
It's
Oh,
okay, yeah.
never mind. I'm sorry.
It's
So
not over
all the
there.
pine trees look much better though than they do now.
Condition
Look at
of
that
This thing was
in-
fantastic.
No, it wasn't.
No,
No, the interior is all torn up. There's no carpet. The seats didn't last, but it was complete. And that's
The
what matters.
seats look better there than they do when we
now.
sold it.
Yeah. Yeah, they
Little.
do. Not by, and there still
No.
has a tack. We took that out because I couldn't get it to work with our converted distributor. We put based on hang on, look at that mileage
on.
there. We put 1,000 miles on that car.
really?
Yeah, it sold with 39 like 012, I think, on it.
Wow.
So we put 1,000 miles. That's amazing.
Does it- I really wanted to show this because the oval theme of the design ethos of this car was
The
amazing.
gauges are all oval.
The steering
tack-
wheel was an oval.
Yep.
Just-
And
Single on the steering wheel. It's
single spoke.
single
thank you.
spoke, yeah. Oh,
Yep.
did I get a picture of the? I don't think I have a picture of the steering wheel itself.
Just so many fun things about it. But the way that when we got it, it had been sitting for 20 years. Who knows? So we had to start somewhere. So I don't even remember exactly which. We got it running first by, I think I started with the typical 2-liter bottle into a hose, into the carb, and then
Sure.
fresh battery and like, let's try it. There's oil in it. Who knows? Sure enough, if the damn thing didn't start without much effort. And then 20 seconds later, once it started to pump itself up, I was so excited that the suspension worked. Like all 4 wheels, it pumped itself up. It was amazing. The exhaust was rotted off. Every fluid was terrible, but it did that. So that started the prep process, really. Like once we knew it ran and then we would go into gear and stuff, like, all right, well, the fundamentals are there.
Should
then
mention
came-
automatic transmission. of
That is,
course.
yes, it was a
Yeah.
Borg Warner 35 3-speed automatic. So then came everything else afterwards. This is where everyone, I know Jeff and Chrissy can have a lot more input into all the things we did to prep it. I mean, not only the cage, and that cage was excellent.
Beefy.
It was
Beefy.
really,
It fit the body really nicely. Like it
but it
was
also had
tight.
amazing sills to be able
Yeah.
to put the we didn't have to like kind of make it flat. It was
You
already
didn't
flat.
have, you
The
didn't have a
plates.
plinth. The sills were.
Has-
Yeah.
Mm.
big old sills with a big flat top. There, it was so easy to do that part. But
anyone who's ever done a floor drop on the Miata, like it just had like 4-inch square sills, and the seats were like so far lower than the actual sills themselves. It was a low slung sports
sport touring
coupe.
car.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. It was big, but it also was tight and lithe, and it looked sexy standing still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is an SM community out there. They weren't as hoity as the Rolls-Royce community for what
No.
we're doing. In fact, some of them were quite helpful. Although the best page for the SM at the time that was out there went offline. And after I'd already knew it was there, but I couldn't, it was gone. So I had to go into the Internet Wayback Archive and start like saving stuff from that to get the info. And there was a guy out of upstate New York that I was in contact with who was
Yes.
very helpful.
Citroen Dave. I'm
Yep.
still friends with him on Facebook.
Yep,
That's
he
weird.
was super helpful, but we ended up doing a bunch of conversions on it. Like we bought Citroen Dave's kit to convert the distributor. It was originally a dual coil, 2 separate ignition system distributor. So like, the distributor cap had 8 holes on it, 2 for coils, 3 for the other ones. Anyway, it was all gone, and it wasn't very good, and it was unobtainium. So we got this kit from Dave to convert it to a Buick 231 distributor cap and a Protronics igniter, and that was much better with just 1 coil.
Proving that Citroen Dave is a monster. Not only does
Yeah.
he do everything in the East Coast that has anything to do with the Citroens, but he also ice races.
Yeah.
His SM. So
Oh.
He is a cool guy. We also converted to a Ford voltage regulator, which is apparently a thing you should do instead of the FV Marshall one that was, who knew?
I don't know
Some of these
why.
French electrics, not so great. And eventually we did end up doing a field expedient conversion to a GM one-wire alternator, but it worked.
I actually have a picture of that.
And a
all the
GM
pictures
one
are
wire
there.
alternator is usually the answer for a lot of problems.
Yeah. Yes, Chrissy.
What was in the cottage cheese container?
The cottage cheese container contained the connection between, it was basically a big electrical connector. Like we had to connect the battery cables to the stock system without replacing it all. So we put nice, big beefy ends on all the wires and bolted them all together and then wrapped it in a ton of electrical tape and then put it in a cottage cheese container to continue to isolate it because we're all about safety.
I just
And
want to
when
make
I-
sure because it's
when-
still there. So
Oh, yeah.
I just
Well, when the car
It's
left,
obvious.
I even wrote battery plus on the cottage cheese container so that the new owners would know what was what.
Yeah, can I get a quick tour of the motor? here?
Sure. All right. I'll try to do
So-
it in a way that those who are, you already give the tour? Great. Make sure to
Yeah,
give it
yeah.
in a way that those who are listening can understand.
I will. So the quad cam all aluminum Italian V6 motor,
Maserati.
again,
Maserati.
yes, was behind the wheel wells. You can see that there was feet in front of between the block and the front wheels, and then the transmission, the Borg Warner transmission, was in front of between the motor and the grill. It was in front of reverse from what most transverse motors were.
It's a longitudinal mounting, but it's backwards.
Backwards.
It's like-
and way back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for those of you who are watching on the internet, I will describe, or on YouTube, I will describe, you can see these green globes here and this green pump and this green globe here. That's the hydraulic system. So there's green globes at each corner for the shock absorbers. I guess this one right here is the brakes, Chris? The
Brakes
one
and
in the
steering.
middle?
Yep.
Brakes and the steering in the middle. And there's, it had to be 14, 16 inches of jack shaft.
Yep. And that runs off the cams, actually. Right, comes right out of the back of the motor, off the
Well,
cams to run
By
the
the back
hydraulic
of the
pump.
motor, we mean towards the
front.
grill.
Yep.
And it ran there's a giant shaft in the middle of nowhere just spinning away. And
Yes.
that's what pumped up all of your
It's
hydraulics.
great to try to do stuff while it's running.
The alternator that we put in, again, because why be normal, it ran off this same jack shaft and reversed.
As did the air conditioning too.
Yeah,
all the
reverse of what you would
accessories out there.
expected. Yeah. Yeah, the air conditioning was up here, right, in this big hole, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and Chrissy mentioned the yogurt container. If you can see on the internet, if you're watching on YouTube, it's right up there. I will mention my favorite part about this was of course, triple Weber setup. That was absolutely fantastic. A joy to learn. I actually quite enjoyed learning how to balance these. Chris, what was the tool you gave me? It was like the carburetor balancer.
It's a sync. Yeah, it's a sync tool. It's basically a fan you put in the throat of each carburetor, and it spins up a gauge to show you how much air is coming through that particular hole.
Yeah.
So you do that, and you can adjust each carb to get the airflow correct.
Yeah. I remember very clearly you handed that to me and we're like, you're going to need to know how to do this and to balance Weber carburetors. Start reading. This tool's supposed to help.
Yep.
And then you kind of backed away, I'm done. That's your job, Jeff.
I had other things to do. Yeah. Well, that and getting the float bowl adjustment exactly right was apparently a big part of it too.
Yeah.
And we had those things apart several times. We'll put it
That's
that way.
way. I'm hiding the.
You're
here's-
going a little.
There's
you're
your
going a little-
float bowls.
Yep. There you go. Float bowls all apart. But you can see how complicated those carburetors are. And those carburetors that set is apparently worth at least $1,000 just because they used them on various Italian exotics at the time.
Yeah.
Who knew?
All right. What else do we want to talk about? What's next?
I was trying to think, what else did we do to prep it? We made a true dual exhaust out of 2 glass packs that wouldn't fit in the tunnel together. So we hammered down one side of each of them so that they would stick together.
I remember that. I didn't
And then-
remember that until you said
Yeah, we
and then
did
just
that.
90-degree the exhaust right out the sides.
Yep.
No
By glass
crossover,
pack,
no
you mean
connector.
cherry bombs.
Oh,
Cherry
yeah.
bombs. Oh
Cherry
yeah,
bombs. Yeah.
because they had them at the store.
Yep. I think
And
we
they're
went out to go
cool.
buy them.
Don't underestimate how they're cool.
I don't know about cool.
It sounded-
They worked.
It sounded terrible. It sounded like 2 Geo Metros racing because it wasn't connected. It was bad.
It worked though.
Yeah.
Still
By the
sounds
way,
like
we
that.
should mention and point to the top of the screen. We have a fantastic tour of this car
Oh,
on
yeah.
YouTube, and I'm
Ah,
gonna
it's true.
link it right there. We only have enough listeners to link other YouTube videos, so we'll link it up there.
Good. What else did we do to prep it? I'm trying to think. Obviously, the cage,
We
the seat, the
cleaned
belts.
tank. What did we do with the gas
Well,
tank?
that came later. First,
Okay.
We didn't clean it at all, though.
The
No,
first
no.
race we didn't do anything
Okay.
with it.
Were we told like it was recently cleaned or something?
We had been told that the previous
Okay.
owner said that either he or the person he got it from had cleaned the tank. So we said, "Oh, great. Well, that's not the problem." So we went to Thompson.
E1R top tip. Never believe
Check it
the
yourself.
previous owner.
Yeah.
And
Foreshadowing.
they're not
foreshadowing.
lying to you. They're just it's rose-colored
know.
glasses. It's
Yeah.
rose-colored memories. Yeah.
Fine.
So we brought it to Thompson, where we had, I think, one of the best themes we've ever had. We did the S&M theme, as one does when you have a Citroen SM.
That was part of why we bought it.
Absolutely.
It hadn't been done, and the name was cool. I don't know if we really said that in the beginning.
If you've never seen those pictures, they're around. It was a lot of fun.
Oh no, there's one right here.
Chrissy, do you want to approve this picture before I put
Oh,
it
it's
up?
fine.
I think
Yep.
Okay.
Nope.
Let me share.
It's all over the internet before.
I know. It's right off our Facebook. So let me just share screen.
Hold on. I got it. It's right here.
I got it. Okay.
And that's
There it
that's
is.
when Mr. Pfister debuted too, because it had to go along with the S&M theme. And then even the TR got into the act, and we all dressed up right.
Yeah.
We would have totally won the Halloween award. Oh,
Absolutely.
we were
This
in
is what it was
costume.
created for.
It probably was actually because we were in costume all week.
The car had a ball gag. It had a fishnets on. It had a leash so that it could be led around by Mr. Pfister, who had a spiked collar.
We had a
as the dome.
great discussion. Can we talk about the discussion?
Yes, please.
So we were wrenching at the CNC Mayhem factory, and we had a whiteboard. We always have a whiteboard, and we were putting ideas on what is S&M and how were we going to make this theme happen. And we were just kind of like spitballing stuff and ball gag and fishnets and, blah, 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 and whips and chains and handcuffs and leather.
Oh, my.
And, a teammate who shall remain named Dan, we're not going to shout out his last name, came over to us and he was like, "You guys are a little too suburban for this. Let me help you out here." And he kind of like said, "We need to organize everything in sub and dom, and we need to assign a personality to each car, so that way each car will have a personality." And then he started writing things on the board. We're like, "Yo, man, this guy ain't watching the same videos we are. He ain't living the same life.
He lives in
we
New
are."
York. It's
lives-
different. Yeah.
He's exposed a little bit more than we are.
Just a little bit more.
You know.
So we assembled basically that the SM would be the sub, and the TR and the Honda would be the dom. So as soon as we had that worked out, then it was like, oh, let's take the big, it was dressed as, I believe, a tank in the race before that. So
Mhm.
let's make the tank a fist. And there was Mr. Pfister. And, the TR can be the gimp, because we all love our favorite movies from Quentin Tarantino. Sorry, I'm
Pulp
getting
Fiction.
pictures. Pulp Fiction, yeah.
Yep. So that worked out great, actually. And when we drove it into HQ the first time with the Citroen going in first, and then the leash actually tied to the fist on the Civic,
Tied
which
to
turned
the
the
fist,
corner
yeah.
saying Mr. Pfister, it was totally worth it. That was great. And later on,
Everybody
we learned
loved Mr. Pfister.
children especially love Mr. Pfister.
So,
Who knows why?
Mr. Pfister, there was like a foam like Hulk hand. Was that?
Yeah.
What
It was
No,
it was a drink koozie hand.
There
It
was like a place to put your can in the
'Cause
fist.
it was like a Steelers.
It was a
thing, right?
Steelers one.
Yeah.
The Steelers.
We had to cover that up the Steelers
yeah,
logo on it.
yeah.
So, and then we put some like a spiked collar around the car with like pleather and foam cones.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is.
I
this is
think
fantastic.
all the cars got the spiked collars.
The Citroen did not, because that's a sub.
It did get a leather
It got studs.
a leather
Yeah, it was
band
like
on it because it was that we took that off like recently. It was very very stuck, but it was on the edge of the
I can
Yep.
here.
And then our costumes were good. Jeff was the gimp, and he owned that. He really did. He's
I lived in the gimp costume.
providing a surface for Rich to sign a piece of
Yeah,
paper,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
good.
I have a picture. There it is. That's how it looked.
Okay, that guess that later. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. the
no.
studs.
Oh, it did have it did have
Well,
spikes
It
on
did
it.
have
that's
studs.
that's New Hampshire. So
I
I don't know why we
know.
changed it.
But I think we had the studs each time. I
Ah.
don't think we changed
Pretty
it.
sure we did.
Yeah.
I think
You
we
can
added
see
it all at
the-
once.
you
But
can
the
see
CB antenna,
fishnets
right? And the CB antenna was the leash
was the leash. Yeah.
because it had a handle on the top. Yeah.
Oh, I was just thinking about it. Sumitomo's. They're
great
some
s-
quality race tires.
It's best you can get in a 205 65 15, and we're certainly not getting other wheels for it. So our first race at Thompson was spectacular and also maddeningly frustrating.
Disaster.
and successful.
That was a disaster.
Everyone loved what we were doing, and the car did not run.
No.
Yeah.
We would do what 2 laps and then it would be
2 laps and it would die.
And then
die.
we tried to power the coil with the jazzy. Everyone loved
Oh.
that.
It's terrible.
Oh, there's a famous meme of you going.
What are you guys doing? I don't know. I don't know.
Gotta figure
I
it
don't
out.
know.
Yeah, so we definitely lived in our costumes. I have a great shot of Bruce like grinding metal,
Grinding?
covered in sparks,
Showing his
bare to
glasses.
the waist with like a leather strap and safety glasses
Yep.
across his
And he's
chest.
pointing at his safety glass saying,
It's like,
"Look,
yeah,
I'm
I'm
being
safe, don't worry."
safe.
I'm doing it.
And it wasn't Thompson. So if I'm getting ahead, I apologize. But there was also a video that came out because at New Hampshire they utilized you in the penalty box.
I can't
that was
remember
at
what
Thompson
race that
too.
was. I think that was Thompson. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it was somebody he had to be led around with a leash around his neck.
And he did
While-
not like it.
Yeah, and he was just getting madder
Oh,
and
no?
madder. And while Bruce was hitting him with a cat of 9 tails.
Yeah, that was Thompson.
And
I think it was all Thompson, really.
Yeah,
and,
we
and
did
the
that
thing is
multiple times.
is
We did.
Bruce is not a weak human being, and he is not without muscle. And the guy was like, "You're gonna get tired of hitting me with that in a minute." And
Oh, don't say that.
he was in no condition to make those kind of statements to
No.
Bruce.
No. Bruce is short and stocky.
And he
Broad.
looks strong, and he's stronger than he looks.
Yeah. So let me mention like what we did. So we were really attacking. We because it would not run, but it would run briefly. We could not figure out if it was fuel or spark. So we played the fuel or spark game the entire weekend.
And then the
Yuri
next
came
one.
over and like blew through our carburetors. He like what was it, the emulsion tube, I believe. He was
Yeah.
like, no, it's the emulsion tube, and he pulled it all apart and he like blew through it and sucked on it, and just the entire time we were just fighting.
We didn't get what we needed, and fortunately Interceptor Motorsports was there with their Fuego turbo that ran like a train the whole time, and so they got their IOE, which they should, but we got our org choice. And then we went to New Hampshire with the car again after plenty of time here working on it, driving around the block and saying, "Is it better?"
It's better.
I don't know.
It's
a
better.
little better.
It's
It's a little
better.
better.
Hence the
Better,
origin
little
of the
better.
phrase.
It's better.
We
little
haven't
better.
used it in a while, but there was the origin of the phrase,
Oh,
which
man.
was
Is it better or is it Citroen better?
It's better.
Better
I
is
forgot about that.
Really better. Citroen better is like,
Oh.
I think it's better.
Yep. So then at New Hampshire, it was doing something similar to us. We had Manny, and who's the other guy with Manny who was really, really good?
Oh, I don't remember.
Manny's teammate, good mechanic. Oh, I forget his name. Anyway, great guy. He helped. He took it on as a challenge, right?
Uh-huh.
And so we're working on it. Eventually over the course of the weekend, we're starting it, playing with it all, doing the stuff. At some point, because we had installed a starter solenoid with a button under the hood, so we could start it under the hood without going anywhere.
Yes, we did.
Eventually, it was in
embarrassing.
reverse and it started and took off in reverse, and the Citroen hit my Suburban. So that was great.
Yes, it did.
They both still wear the mark of that one
Yeah.
when the Citroen left recently. But eventually we figured
Oh,
out.
were you at New Hampshire?
We're in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the race where so they kept doing this. It had done it a handful of times where you didn't know if you were in drive, so it drove into something. This is when we were outside. It was very cold, and Steve McDaniel comes out and said, "Will your car stop hitting other cars?" And we were like, "It's our car." And he's like, "But stop on hitting other cars." Yes, that. Yeah.
So I remember I was sitting, I was under the fender, I was messing with carbs, and Manny was helping me, and he was like, try this. And I said, I remember like kind of getting just so frustrated, and I said, for the love of God, I am convinced that this thing is not getting fuel. And he just looked at me and he said, have you checked the fuel filters? And I was like, I don't even know where they are.
We put the one in.
This is this thing where we keep talking about.
Yeah,
we're not geniuses. We have just made so many mistakes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We put the fuel pump in. It was a facet fuel pump. The original one from Thompson we decided was not big enough, so we put a bigger one in for New Hampshire, and it had one filter. And Jeff took that filter off, and
Show the picture.
That was the Citroen filter. We actually got rid
there
of the
was-
Citroen filters and then put in the inline filters.
that the
Plural.
one you're thinking of was one I put in
Oh, okay.
first time.
The
Eventually,
okay.
we made it a better system. That was for Thompson.
Yeah. I
but-
have a picture of both
or-
the original and the system. So
Yeah.
this is what it would do in 20 minutes to an inline fuel filter.
That is not
Now,
coffee.
For those that are watching, it's one of those standard clear plastic inline fuel filters that you can buy at AutoZone, and they're actually really good for diagnosing these kinds of problems. Is that like the standard 3-inch one, Jeff?
Yeah.
It's exactly the
And-
one everyone
and you-
gets.
Yeah.
You heard Chrissy say it's not coffee because it looks like it is full of coffee grounds.
Yeah.
Not partially, full.
And the-
3-inch of rust.
And the reason my finger is over it is because it would actually just pour the rust dust out of it if I
Yeah.
didn't keep my finger. Like I would like kind of shake it and get all the rust back.
What
and
were
then
you
put it
doing?
back in, and then it would run for 20 minutes,
Thanks.
and it would clog it again.
Like a
And so-
rusty snow globe.
Yeah, like a rusty snow globe. That's a great way to
The
put
worst game
it.
ever.
So we sent somebody out, and I was just like, buy every fuel filter they have. Just get them all. I don't care what it is. I don't care what size it is. I think it was 3/8, as long as it has 3/8 hose. And yeah, we ended up building, I have a picture of it here. We ended up building a multiple fuel filter manifold.
Yep. So when one filled up, it would go through the other.
So I think we were at this point because we had fixed the other fuel filters that were in the fender. I think this setup would get us about 45 minutes to an hour.
Yep. Yeah. And that lasted us for the whole rest of the New Hampshire race. And then over the winter, we said, we're going to solve this problem. So I took the tank out, which is actually surprisingly easy. It dropped in a well in the back. You don't have to drop it out from underneath. Took it out. I brought it to a fuel tank. Actually, in Reading, Pennsylvania, there is a radiator and fuel tank shop still.
Oh, that's good.
Amazingly, right? I bring it to that guy and said, can you just, get this tank right? He said, yeah, sure, no problem. Calls me the next day. He says, I've never seen a tank like this. It is apparently so heavily baffled internally that he couldn't do his usual process to it. He couldn't scrape it out. He couldn't put the seal in. He could not do it. It wouldn't work. So he said, so how about I want to try this electrolysis thing I've heard about. Let me do that. I said, yeah, sure. Go for it. So he did. He put a big chunk of anode in there. He put the laundry soda. He put the water. He did it. He cleaned it out as best he could. And he took the pickup and he brazed a fitting on the bottom to use a very standard kind of Napa in-tank sock that would go on that too. There's one extra precaution. And we put it back in. We put our ridiculous fuel filter manifold back on. And we drove it around. It wasn't picking up anything anywhere. It was amazing. And then we
Yeah.
went to New Jersey, and I didn't even drive the car in New Jersey. You guys did. So Chrissy and Jeff.
You didn't drive
guys,
the car at Jersey?
Yeah, I drove it in New Hampshire. I drove it once.
Wow.
But you guys should talk, because that's the time we were pushing hard for B in the other car. So I was just in the other car. You guys, and we won at Jersey.
We did.
We won
That's right.
B in the Civic. So that's why I didn't drive it, because I did 8 hours in the Civic. So why don't you guys talk about what it was like to drive once it finally worked? Like, what was your driving impressions of the
I know
SM?
that you drove it in New Hampshire because you almost fell asleep when you had hives. That's right, you did. You
Yeah.
definitely drove it. When we were replacing the filter, that totally happened.
Yep.
Okay. I don't remember.
I remember it being very soft.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
you could hit things like the
Don't
berm of the
hit
curb.
things.
No, I don't mean things. I mean like it just did not get upset
It
at
was
the changing undulations
And
of
that's
the
that
road.
Citroen hydroelastic
Yeah.
suspension.
Yeah.
That's the point.
And what year was
Ass
this?
pleasure.
Was this in New Jersey?
15. I'm gonna
Oh, I
say,
just looked it
15 or
up, actually.
Maybe
I just
6,
had
maybe
it.
16. One of the two.
Okay.
We should mention
15.
the brakes.
New
We should mention-
Hampshire 15.
So this thing had an inboard discs in the front, and that
Solid
was the
discs.
solid discs, and that was the majority of the braking happened because again, remember you could like look in the engine and just touch them because they were right there. We ordered race brakes or better brakes or new brakes for this thing. They did not come in. I think we got at one point we had a wrong set of stockers.
Yeah, I got 2 rears or something.
Yeah,
I was depleting the Rock Auto European supply of all kinds of stuff for this car that was
Yeah.
still on there.
So we didn't have brakes. I shouldn't say that. We had brakes that worked absolutely fine. This was not a Rolls-Royce situation. That is a different show where we will talk about brakes. The brakes worked great. They worked on a button. There was not a lot of modulation. It was on or off.
Mhm.
But I really felt like the brakes then became the weakest link.
We were just careful. We were
Yeah.
very
Yeah,
careful
yeah,
because
we
we
were
knew
Especially
there
after
wasn't
the-
much left.
After the
Yeah.
Roy Carver episode, the
Yeah, exactly.
right, the
That's the roll show. We'll do
That's
that
the
later.
roll show.
We
there-
did not want to use up the brakes, so we
Mm-mm.
did not use the brakes. But I really felt like if we had a better braking plan, we could have really made that car hustle.
Yeah.
Because it had some power, like 170 horsepower, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what it weighed, but it felt light.
3,000-ish.
I mean, I should
Wasn't
say
too bad.
It danced well. Wouldn't mean I don't mean it felt like
for how
it felt
big
like
the
a
car was.
Exactly. I really felt like I could have made that thing hustle. We were
Agreed.
not hustling.
We were just we were just
going around.
concerned about it.
But the Rolls Royce was a rolling roadblock.
Mhm.
I could be at C-class speed in the Citroen.
Totally.
And I think the rolls would have done better if we had brakes.
Well, yeah. But even that, the rolls with brakes was still worse than the
Still a pig.
Citroen with stock brakes.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember having a whole lot of fun driving it. I mean,
No.
like
Say
when
fun.
no, I think same with the rolls. I mean, I think it was more of concern, and it's more of turn laps. Don't mess up. Don't have other
Mhm.
people mess up with you. I mean,
Yeah, no.
driving an
Stay out of
IOE
the
car.
way.
Yeah,
Stay out of
driving
the
an
way.
IOE car has very different, but still stress around, are we doing well enough? What are the other IOE cars that are there? Don't brake, don't go off track. The longer you're off, the more that you may not get the IOE. So I think so I don't recall thinking that it was a fun car to drive.
I seem to remember a little differently that I felt like because we were coming off the Rolls Royce, and the Rolls Royce was an absolute danger to life and limb at every lap.
Hey, but the roll cage was pretty good in the rolls.
I don't mean
so-
we were going to
They were
get
both
hurt.
pretty
I
good.
mean,
I know.
we could not keep up. We were in the way. We were large. I had to work really hard to stay out of other people's way.
Mhm.
While in the Citroen, I felt like I was like, damn, I wish I could go faster, but I have to save the car.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
This
And
is
it had-
2016, incidentally, it was New Jersey. Because
fuel
Phil
tank-
was apparently obsessed with this car.
Correct.
Yeah, well, of course.
Yeah.
The fuel tank was big though, and the filler hose you could fit your fist in the filler hose, as I found recently when I had to put some gas in it. Like it was so easy to fuel. Just took all the stuff right down. It was great, but that race it ran like a train.
Yep.
It never really stopped.
Never stopped.
It just wasn't going all that fast. but it never really stopped.
Because we were keeping it slow.
Yep, exactly. But that's
purpose.
why it never really
yeah.
stopped, is because we're taking reasonable care of it. And that was the IOE.
Mm-hmm.
And that's impressive because if I'm not mistaken, that was the debut of the amphibious chopper.
Yep.
It was.
And you also beat out the V6 rear-engined Volkswagen Beetle.
Yep.
Which
the
would become
Hudson.
the Spin Factory, the Hudson, the Rally Baby AMC, which has become a
that
very
had won
fast
an IOE
car.
previously.
The wide body Chevette. There's some other great stuff. I mean, that was a highly competitive weekend.
This was a particularly good race for us in that not only did we win IOE, but we won B in the Civic with 9th overall with the stock-ish single cam in the car.
The Hero motor.
Yeah, that's when we were doing 4-hour stints, stop once a day.
Here is a beautiful picture of the Citroen at
Citroen.
speed.
Citroen.
Even Jeff eventually got it.
N.
Nope.
Okay, fine.
Oh, that's a
I'm an
great
American.
shot.
I pay my taxes. There is an E, even though there's umlauts, and EON is Citroen.
No, it's not. And someone apparently didn't latch both of the hood latches in that picture. But
That's
Uh,
fine. I'm pretty sure that's me.
But it's a
I think
great
so.
shot of the leash
Of the
slash
leash,
whip.
Mhm.
But you can see what they're talking about when they talk about the SM, this full, lovely, not racing design, but suspension articulation. I mean, compared to the BMW that's in that shot, I believe that is the Krabby
Kraut.
guys. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
yeah, that's Carl.
And I mean, that inside front wheel is almost off the ground.
It's holding tight. That it had a
Yeah.
tremendous amount of travel. Like no matter what you did, it's fine.
And
they would
I
just
think I'm on the racing
absorb
line.
it. Yeah,
I'm
you pretty
making-
much are.
I'm making him pass me on the outside.
Yeah. And that did it. That was a great race for us. And that was it for the Citroen.
Yeah.
After that, it went into the storage garage.
Spoiler alert: as soon as you win IOE, you try and sell it.
Yes, in
But
theory.
we said, well, if we had a title, it would be worth more. So let's try to get that.
True.
And then it sat in the storage garage.
And then it sat in the storage garage for 2
From
years while I searched for the
May
title,
of
and then 2 years while I
2016.
didn't search for the title, and 2 years. Yeah.
May of 2016 until December of 21,
Yeah.
when we cleaned it up. It was just July of 20th. We cleaned it up and took a bunch of pictures, and then we still didn't get it listed. And then eventually, and we made all those YouTube videos.
There's the. We should mention the shifter too.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah, it's true.
But this is I do like when Chris was talking about, this is still playing into the French Art Deco car design heritage, the gauge layout. Pay no attention to the missing gauges and to this marital age shifter, but it's a lovely design.
Yeah,
It doesn't look as it's more oval in real life than it is in that picture.
it's true.
It's a market oval.
Angle.
So I'm just gonna 3 sentences talk about the title search, but it was 3 years.
It was a lot.
3
of paper.
years,
Yeah.
4 states. We
It was a
pulled
lot of
PhD
paperwork.
We pulled a PhD into this. You were flirting with a woman who worked at the New Jersey DMV. It was not for a lack of
Pennsylvania
effort.
DMV.
I did a lot of
actually.
paperwork for you
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
I went and said, what paperwork is needed? Jeff, just sign this paper here and I will send it to the right people because I wanted
Yeah.
this damn car out of my house.
I don't remember that. So this is what is this series of unfortunate events, the Lemony Snicket.
Yes.
So yeah, the New Jersey title process, because Pennsylvania doesn't even have one, and those were our options. Basically means you do title searches in the 4 surrounding states. You take out a newspaper article or a newspaper advertisement saying that you're trying to get the title. You do a whole bunch of you get a bill of
Can you-
Rubbery
sale.
bid.
Did you say
The
3?
notary.
You need 3 notes of people. I'm sorry, my internet's
Yeah.
giving me
Notes
problems.
of
Yeah, 3
people
notes.
unrelated to you.
So I found my sister, my mom, I found all these people. And then I said, just sign this paper and they all had to be notarized. And then we had to send them in a nice little packet. Yes.
Yeah, so there was a bunch of weird things, like some of the paperwork arrived in Harrisburg that didn't belong to Harrisburg at like a title insurance agent, not the DMV. So they sent it back to me. There were some like crazy things that happened. I submitted, once everything was done, I submitted it all to New Jersey. And the first time I got rejected because something wasn't right. I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it might have been like the Delaware or maybe it was the Pennsylvania. One of the title searches was not correct. So they didn't send it back to me. They just said failed.
Yep.
So I had to put the paperwork together all over again, including the four notarized people and luckily I had saved the title searches, but some of them needed to be stamped from the DMV, so I had to get them again. I submitted a second time, and they told me all of this is good, but since the letter of bill of sale was from Rhode Island, you must get a Rhode Island title search. Rhode Island would not get me a title search. I tried again and again and again. I called. I tried doing
I stood in line at the DMV in Rhode Island for a
You
while.
did
Oh, you
with
did?
your coworkers
Yeah.
in the
I was
car.
coming home
Yeah,
from a
yeah.
work trip. I made my coworkers sit in the
I've
car for a while. to
forgotten
try to get
about
it.
that. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
So, and by the
Oh.
way, each of these is like at least 8, 9, 10 months worth of
Absolutely.
things
Yes.
between. It did not happen. So,
Well, and before
I-
you even wrap it up, then came the desperation moves.
yes, this
There
is the
was
problem.
an attempt at Vermont. There was an attempt at Georgia, because I remember taking a bill of sale to my school's law enforcement agent because it had to be notarized. And he was like, "Look, man, I'm not doing it if I can't see this car." And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, my buddy will FaceTime you right now. And he's looking at it going, "What is the matter with you? What is that? What is on that car?"
Well,
And then we even tried to get one in Florida, and the person that was going to do it for us in Florida, because Florida's like, does
Well,
does it look like a car? You know, in the process of doing the search in Florida using the VIN code, found out car was never sold in America, was sold in Canada and brought to Rhode Island.
which might have been the problem.
And I'm
with
pretty sure we sold it
Island.
to in New York because I'm pretty sure we tried to
We
sell it to
tried
Greg.
selling it to Greg Smith.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, we did.
Actually, this is what I was going to mention. This is the third attempt. So
Oh, okay.
all the paperwork gets this time. I had actually scanned it all.
Good
so
idea.
I did not have to pay
Thanks.
for them again. And I simply removed the bill of sale from Rhode Island and put in a New York bill of sale signed by a teammate. The wrath from the New Jersey DMV, because they still had a file on the car. So they kind of immediately knew that I was attempting to fool them and basically said, "Screw you, Wakeman. We are not
'Cause-
continuing this process."
Because New Jersey keeps their French 70s cars in line.
do.
Exactly.
Well,
That's the
under the
place where they have
C,
got it under
under
order.
the Citroens, there's probably not a whole lot of them.
Well,
so
but this is really annoying because the first time I did it and they denied it, they were like, "We don't keep any of that paperwork, so you have to do it all over again."
somebody
The
typed something in a
second
computer is
time
what
I put
happened.
it in, they said, "No, you're faking this."
hmm
Beth,
So
that weirdo with that French car mailed you again.
yeah,
Well, they
Yep.
don't sound like that in Jersey.
They
And-
do
and-
not.
and this includes me like going to Trenton with the pictures because you have to have pictures with 3/4 profiles and it was terrible. Yeah.
Hey, Beth, that weirdo with that car's here
Nope,
again.
that's not it either.
Uh,
Closer, but
And
Yeah.
let's
Right
end
part of
that
the world.
story and talk about how we actually sold it.
We,
bunch
I'm
of
sorry,
pictures.
we, you said we, because we didn't sell it.
well, we had a bunch of pictures and we had a
Mm.
bunch of video that
I
were all
helped
up.
with.
That everyone helped with that. And eventually, I said, "You know what? Screw it." I wrote up to Bring a Trailer. I said, "Here we go." I wrote all the things up. Rejected because Bring a Trailer has jumped the shark. If
We
it's
were
not a-
so.
if it's
I'm
not yet
still
another
salty.
Effing, it's not, you have another effing
Oh, absolutely.
911
Yeah,
or
screw-
E30 M3, then they don't
No,
care.
Screw you.
They'll sell a
Rad
Subaru
for
Outback.
sale, cars and bids, Mercedes-Benz marketplace.
it's-
That's where
it
you
doesn't-
belong.
Can't-
It
but
doesn't fit
go
in
any of
them.
those.
No, I'm
It-
saying, but from now on, that's where in
I mean,
racing
I
stuff, that's
know,
where
I
do
know
my
the
shopping.
I
Yeah.
know the
Can't
Screw
do
answer.
rad
you,
for
Bring a
sale.
Trailer.
Yeah, it's
Can't do
expensive.
cars and bids because it's too old. Can't do
Yeah.
any of those. So I said, you know what? Screw it. eBay. So I wrote up a whole long thing on eBay, fairly, really honest and to the point. Yes, Chrissy.
We took a couple more pictures. We took some
did.
really nice pictures in the sun at where we did park because we don't have anymore, where we park all of our SRO cars. And we took some better pictures in the sun. And that was right before we went to bring a trailer, hoping that some stance
Beautiful
pictures and
pictures,
some,
yeah.
really
Well,
nice. It was a beautiful day. We thought it was going to be better.
The bid nerd guys had said, you guys need some better pictures that are just the car that look really good, nice background, turned around. Like, so we did all that before we
Mhm.
submitted to bring a
Yep.
trailer. And they still said no because they suck.
So that's also
Even though
when
I
we
was
realized
a 2-time prior seller, like the Rolls Royce had the second most like votes in the car of the year back when we sold it on there. Like, didn't care.
we also realized then that it was a little difficult to drive. So I'll just put that out there because that comes
Oh.
into play a little bit soon.
We knew that, didn't we?
Well, the shift cable was the
shift
problem.
cable was broken. Yeah.
Yes.
And
but it was
also
I'd
like-
we leaked-
actually, Citroen Dave was going to sell me one for $100.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
well,
then
we needed one.
we'd also poured out 2 quarts plus of transmission fluid on the ground with a leaky hose
was
between
really
the time Jeff
exciting.
and I did it and the time Chrissy and I did it. So anyway, Chrissy and I get it home, get it in the trailer, put it on eBay. I put it up December 21st saying, you know what, whatever, this is going to take a while. Who cares? Wouldn't you know it? I wake up the next morning. Your item is sold. $3,500 was my asking price. I said,
What?
whatever. I just wanted to go away. Just want to go away.
So we
Your item is sold.
underpriced it, is what you're saying.
Apparently, the guy that bought it, his name is Frank. He is French. He
He
has
spells name.
FRANCK. He has
Honk.
he has
Oh.
other SMs
Of course.
and he has raced in Champ. And this car is actually on its way to Frank's garage at Harris Hill Raceway.
Oh, I
Deep
did not know
into-
this.
Deep into
Yep.
Puffalump country.
Yep. So it's going to the right person. It took a long time for him to get transport arranged. I mean, like I said, he bought it right before the holidays. We said, okay, whatever, holidays, it's fine. He then had a lot of trouble getting transport arranged, and he finally got it done, which is fine. It was sitting in the trailer, wasn't hurting anything, and he was nice. He's a very nice guy. He was communicative, all as well, and he paid for it right away. And then eventually, the other night, it came time for it to get picked up, so I had to take it out of the trailer to like get it working again, right? So of course it wouldn't start. Turns out it was pretty much out of gas, so I had to put some gas in it.
Well,
Ain't
'cause
got
it
no
sat-
gas in it.
It sat for 3 years, and we got it started with
More than that,
nothing
right.
but
And
a
I think we
j-
put it
No,
away
it
with-
continues to start. It's just
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
when it has
We-
no gas, it can't.
yeah.
We put it away with basically no gas. And every time we would park it, I would pull the wire for the fuel pump and let the carbs clean out so that
Yeah,
they would
yeah.
stay clean. So eventually it was out of gas. I got some gas and it started. I could get it into reverse, get out of the trailer, but I could not get it into drive. So I just rolled down the hill with gravity. Fortunately, the wonderful suspension went right over the curb in our driveway, right down.
Of course.
And then it wouldn't roll enough to get into the garage. So I had to back up the driveway and then let it coast down. Anyway, I had to get the windows up, which I had disabled. And so I had to kind of put them up the hard way. The driver's one still wasn't really staying up, needs a stick. I had to do what we could with the shift cable, which wasn't much. And I then labeled the shift cable under the hood. So if someone needed to jam it into the transmission, they would know which one
Which
it
is
was.
Still difficult to do, even if you
Yep.
have a friend that has a clue of what they're doing. This is still,
Still
a
a
difficult
challenge.
process. Yes.
I had to
I
label
hope
the
you told
hood.
Frank about this.
Oh yeah, well he knows the shift cables.
It's
That was-
not
that was in the
Frank
ad.
it's not Frank that they're worried about. It's the truck
It's the
driver
sh-
who's
yeah.
gonna have to get this thing.
So
on
this
and
is why
off.
this is a
This
funny
is where
story.
we're getting
This
to.
is
I'm-
where
I'm
we're
getting
going.
there. So he, like
Does
the
that
hood,
picture look good?
the
That
hood
does look
release was a piece of baling wire wrapped
Yes.
around a thing. I wrote hood release on a piece of tape on that. I printed out an 8.5 by 11 sheet of instructions for the car and taped that to the dash. So anyway, the guy comes finally, he picks the car up, and I say to him, I would suggest, like, the car runs and drives, it's running. Like, I drove it over here. I would suggest you put it wherever it's going to stay before it gets to Texas.
We also
because-
waited an hour.
and a half.
He said it was
Yeah.
going to be 12 o'clock. He showed up said it was going to be 5. We show up at
Yeah.
4:45. You don't see him until 6:30. It's pitch black out, and we're in
and
the
it's cold.
right. It's very cold. Of course, it's very cold. We're also, yes, we had to figure out a place for the tractor trailer to park to be able to turn around for us to
And
put the
load.
car into the tractor trailer. And so that was all part of.
So I tell the guy, you
loading.
should put it somewhere where it's going to stay. because
Also, this guy doesn't speak English.
yeah,
Did you-
very little.
You didn't say this.
Because it drives it, but once it's in drive, I don't know if you're ever going to get it back into drive. Reverse is good, park is good, but getting it back into drive is a real problem. He's all upset about this. He goes back in the truck. He's on there's multiple phones. He's doing something. He doesn't talk to us. It's like half an hour. I'm 2 minutes from walking up to the cab door and saying, dude, yes or no?
I'm out.
Yes or no, one way or the other. And right before he does, he gets out and he's like, he seems on board with it. He drives, he gets in, like I show him how to climb over the roll cage. I show him how to start it. Well, you got to pull the left hand over to that knob. That's a choke. All right, now you can start it with this one. Halfway down on the gas. Yep. Okay. He stepped on the brakes. Is like, is okay. I'm like, yeah, that's normal. That's good. That's good. He drives it around.
The
Right.
brakes are weird.
Right. He drives it around the parking lot. Like, seems okay. He's getting it. So I drive it up onto the truck for him. Well, unfortunately, like I brought a work light, so we're holding that up.
And he didn't have one. He was using his cell phone.
Yeah, he's using his iPhone light.
So I went to go get the piece of paper. I know this is the worst way to do it. So they have you're supposed to do an inspection first, and this is our receipt from the bill of sale for the bill of lading to get rid of the car. And he checks like where the dents are.
Well,
He
I
just
got a better
puts-
one on my phone.
Oh, do you?
It's
Now, for those looking, not watching this on video, basically it looks like someone
Stay there, Chris.
shot
I'm
a
big.
picture of a car with a BB gun, and so it's all covered in yellow splotches,
Yeah.
like a paintball gun just lit him up. It is.
and I signed to that and saying yes, that is
Yes,
that is true.
that's
That is
fine. You
correct.
just went,
Fine.
oh, good.
And
I
he
didn't realize
said,
you had that.
if I have problem later, I'll call you. I'm like, all right, dude.
Not picking it up, but you're welcome. to
No,
call me,
no,
buddy.
Sure enough, he
we're-
did.
he
Sure
did.
enough, 2 hours later, he called me. He was at Mannheim picking up the one other car he needed because he put it on the very back of the bottom of the trailer because the top of the trailer was a Hellcat Durango, an Audi S6, a Yukon Denali, and then the bottom, I think there was a Rogue or some crappy
Mhm.
thing. And then
And then
it
it
was
was in the middle.
Right. He put it on the very back so that it would roll off, no problem. But then he had to get it back on. And he's like, it won't go into drive. And I had sent him like some things to do. And one of my suggestions.
He left
was
a
gonna
whole
be-
long text. He wrote
I
him. He
did.
was like, if this problem happens, this is what you
Then
need
this.
to do. Then
Right.
this.
One of my suggestions was going to be if it won't go forward, you know what? Drive it up the thing in reverse and you can roll it off forward when you get there. But anyway, I said, okay, here's what you need to do. Put it all the way forward, gear shift all the way forward, and then pull it back with force. And he did. And he went, oh, okay.
And this
Thank
is
you.
at like
Was
9:30,
he an
10 o'clock.
Eastern
Fortunately,
European gentleman?
Yes,
oh,
he's
yes.
Russian.
It's Saturday. So fortunately we're up, but
Yeah.
this is 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And he's
He
calling
said,
saying,
okay, thank you, Chris. Have a good day. Okay. I haven't heard since,
haven't heard
I don't-
since.
but that's good.
When does Frank expect to get it?
Don't know. I mean,
Don't
Saturday's
know.
Wednesday is only going to Texas.
But you don't know where he's going first.
No clue. It seemed like he was going to be going that way. So I bet it's probably there. I haven't heard anything from Frank yet. I sent
And-
Frank a
and they
picture
do a
of the
bunch
car on the trailer.
They do a bunch of shifting with that stuff. The same thing happened when the Failbird came out here. The CLS came out here. It was on a completely different truck by the time it got
Well,
here.
that's what we thought. And then we were like, if this
he
has to,
seemed to think it wasn't going to be shifting around a lot.
because
But
we
when
were
I
like,
was
we
talking to
can't
him,
really afford to, I mean,
Keep
you know
doing
how to,
this,
he
yeah.
knows how to drive it, but we were like, it's not going to, not last,
Yeah.
but it's not going to go well if that's
Hey,
what you're trying to do.
I haven't
Yeah,
heard anything
exactly.
else. The car's gone. The guy's PayPal cleared.
Ta-da.
I was very honest about selling it. He seems to know what he's getting into because he's got other ones. So yeah, Citroen went to the farm
That's great.
upstate.
Yay.
Great. Just a great end to a terrible story. A fantastic story, actually.
It was
It
a
was a good story.
fantastic story.
Fantastic story.
Glad we did it. Glad we have to be able to joke about it. It was not so fun when we were doing it. Winning is fun.
I'm ready for the next IOE. I don't know what it's going to be. I'm not ready to build it. We don't have any money. We don't have any time. But
It's the time and
Why don't
space.
you-
That's the problem.
Why don't you
If that-
build the race car that is not? Oh,
that's what I'm
yes.
saying. Not now. But if that TVR shows up on my local
Somebody
Craigslist,
already has one.
I'm going to look at it.
We don't need one.
Not a Tasman.
Okay.
A
So,
TVR would be cool. Tasman would be great.
TVR would be cool. TVR would
Yeah.
be totally cool.
Well, we're having more space now because a Citroen is gone. Now we only
Yeah.
have one more extra car to get rid
Yeah,
of.
the
And
trailer is empty. The Civic is in the garage with the Mercedes, and over the storage garage, it's the NSX, the Corvette, the MG, and the Mazda.
Still pretty full, but
That's pretty full.
Yeah.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about the listener feedback. Should I wait for next week? Listen,
You can give it now.
Is
too.
it about the Citroen?
no, it's about the.
Want to keep it? Okay, go ahead. You do it. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's fine. I had some personal listener feedback that was somebody reached out to me very close. A very special listener who happens to be my mother, who said, when we keep talking about the Z, and she was like, why isn't the Z done? And and I was like, because he doesn't have a garage and it's outside and he has to move all kinds of things around. She's like, well, why doesn't he get an extra garage? That's what you have. Why didn't you figure out how to make it move inside? This car should be done. She must have been
not wrong.
I know she's not wrong.
You know who's always keeping Jeff on task about the Z? Chrissy's mom.
Nobody, because I'm not on task.
Right? Well, if she has to go through whisper down the lane to get the feedback to you over a show where everybody else heard it, it's still not going to help.
Do you know if she listened to the show while you weren't on?
What do I know if she did?
Did she listen to the show last week?
Probably not. No, I don't think so.
At least not yet.
No, not yet. No, they
and I discussed it. We said, I wonder if she's going to be listening.
Oh yeah, she will. They don't usually listen in yes, they usually when they go places they put them up, put it on.
Binge.
Yeah. It's not beach time, so they're not going back and forth. To the beach
Got it. Well, we gave her a special shout out last week.
Okay.
And we said, are you listening? If you are, tell us you're listening.
Oh,
anyway.
Sorry. She didn't listen.
Last comments on the Citroen. Does anyone have anything other than Vive la Resistance? I don't know what to say. That's all I know how to say in French.
I'm glad we did it. I'm glad it's gone.
Yep. All the above. And it had we've been frustrated about it for a long time. So I'm glad it's gone as well.
And to a good home too.
That's a good thing.
It is a happy ending to that story.
Yeah. And even if it's just parts for the other cars the guy has, fine. At least it's getting used.
Paying
That's
it forward.
And it's not us parting it, though. I'm sure we probably would have made more money now that we've not.
Totally, but it would have been a lot of work.
Yeah.
I say, with the tons of free time you two have.
Yeah.
Well, we've been doing well with selling parts, so that's why it's encouraging. But
I need more hobbies.
But it
I didn't intend to get my part-time job at a toy store.
Yeah, but it probably wasn't savable as a restoration project. Not even a full frame off. I
mean, it was fairly solid. I don't know.
It depends on how dedicated somebody is.
There were times where people were throwing away 69 911S's because they weren't savable. And now if it has a VIN, it's savable.
Pretty much. Yeah.
The good ones are worth money these days. Who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Let's put it to bed with a tip.
That's better. I feel better about this. Okay. This just in, and I don't know if anybody heard this, and I don't know if anybody cares, but I thought there's at least one vehicle on here that somebody might know somebody. Owners of the model year 2014 to 2016 Kia Sportage and the 2016 to 2018 Kia K900 and the 16 to 18 Hyundai Santa Fe. I feel like there's some Santa Fe owners out there, maybe your parents. They should park their cars outside and away from homes, even if their vehicle is turned off until their vehicle has been repaired due to a recall for a risk of fire. So Kia and Hyundai have identified the increasing risk of an engine compartment fire, although the cause remain unknown, which is totally scary. The manufacturers believe an electrical component of the anti-lock brake system may experience internal electrical short circuit that could increase both the risk of fire, both when the vehicle is driven and parked. So there are Kia and Hyundai both have their different recalls. I got this at work from a work safety thing. So that's where I thought it was interesting because most recalls aren't really that big, but you never know who has one of these things around. So double check.
And that awesome. Kia is hot.
Damn hot. What is a K900? Does anyone even know?
A sedan. They had it's actually kind of a long wheelbase based on the but it was their
is that the Azera basically? Just
I want to say yeah, but it was their high end. It's their version of the Genesis. Very nice, highly luxurious. They had
doesn't look like a Kia.
One of the NBA guys was promoting it because he could sit in the back and it was impressive.
Yeah,
Well,
new ones.
that's
New ones
that's
are going
good.
for 4,200 or 42,000.
Wow.
Before they catch fire.
That's right.
Yes.
Slightly less after.
Do we have any idea what we're doing next week for the show?
No, we do not.
No.
No. All right. Well, we will end today's show with a thank you for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We also hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building because everyone can be a racer, even a Citroen SM. We also hope, if you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button. I hear the like button is the important one this week. I don't know. Who can tell?
Right.
You could also go to iTunes, give us a 5-star rating. If you hated us, give us 5 stars. Tell us why. If you have any questions or show ideas, drop a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers. Email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. You can still text mental. Send them pictures of your junk. 484-243-0455. Instagram, Twitter, everyone.racers. YouTube, Reddit/E1R. We're everywhere. Just look for us. Please interact. Send us a message because that's what gets the algorithm pushed up so that we get seen other places. And you know what else is good? Keep the shiny side up and let's a Citroen then just keep those Sumitomos down.